Yo, what up? It's your boy, Mr. E, and today, can we stop for just a second and admire how amazing that star is? Mario himself would be so proud.
Here we
Wow, that's a
go!
great star. Alright, back to the video. We're going to learn about multiplying decimals visually. So we already learned a little bit about the standard algorithm and how we scoop when we multiply with decimals, but we should also be able to see pictures and models and recognize what it's telling us to do and how we could multiply decimals using those models. So we're going to take a look at 3 different examples of visual ways we can multiply decimals. This first way that we're going to do it reminds me of the times I play football with my students on the A team. There's nothing quite like getting a chance to play football with the boys at recess. And these kids were kind enough to invite this old bag of bones to play with them. But you know, as a teacher, I'd have to relate this to math somehow. And this is how I'm going to do it. By the way, Ben caught that. So, we have an equation here at the bottom. It says 13 and 2/10 times 4 equals t. We're going to use a number line to help us solve this one. What we're going to do is we're going to have Grant here start at the 0-yard line. So he's going to be doing a drive where he gets 13 and 2/10 yard every pass, and we'll see how far he gets to go. So he starts at 0, throws the football, and gets 13 and 2/10. Throws it again, so that's doubling it, or adding 13 and 2/10, which gets him 26 and 4/10. Throws it again, gets him all the way to 39 and 6/10. And he throws it one last time, and Noah makes the catch to get us 52 and 8/10 yards. Not bad, especially since we typically play on the basketball court or on the field, so not really 100 yards, but that's a touchdown faux show. Another way we could look at it, though, is repeated addition. So if we just simply add 13 and 2/10 4 times, we're going to get our answer of 52 and 8/10. So number lines and repeated addition is a great way to visually multiply decimals. Let's take a look at the next type of way we can multiply with decimals. The next one is using base 10 blocks. And I'll admit to you guys, this one's a little trickier, but hang with me and I think we'll be able to understand it. So we have c equals 3 and 3/10 times 2 and 5/10. Remember, if you have a number right next to a parenthesis, that means we're going to be multiplying. We're going to need a key to kind of help us out with this. So the big rectangles or the big squares are going to be our flats, which is equal to 1. Our skinny ones, which are called our rods, are going to be equal to 1/10. And our unit is going to equal 100th. So I know typically we use these with whole numbers, but when we use them with decimal, whatever is going to be our smallest place value is going to be represented by a unit. In this case, we're using the hundredths as our smallest place value, so the hundredths will be 1 unit. So this is what it starts out like, and I know that looks really, really confusing, but let me break it down for you. This top area here is representing 3 and 3/10. We have 3 flats and 3 rods, so 3 and 3/10. And then over here, we have 2 and 5/10. So we have 2 flats and 5 rods. So what we're going to do is we're going to start filling in the missing pieces. We're going to start by filling in the missing flats, okay? So basically, if you multiply 1 times 1, you're going to get 1. So 1 flat times 1 flat will give us 1 flat. Then we're going to start filling in the rods, okay? So when we multiply a flat by a rod, it's just going to get us a rod. So 1 times 1/10 would give us 1/10. So we start filling in the rods there. And then finally, when we multiply 1/10 times 1/10, especially if we use scoop, it'll be a little bit more easy to understand. We get hundredths. So we got a bunch of little units that we fill in. Now to find our answer, we just need to count out how many flats, rods, and units we have. So it looks like we have 6 total flats, which would give us 6. Looks like we have about
21
rods, which will give us 2 and 10 hundredths. Then we have 15 units, which will give us 15 hundredths. So now all we have to do is we have to add these up to get us 8 and 25 hundredths. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys probably already did the multiplication either in your head or on your piece of paper to find that answer. And when you're thinking, wow, standard algorithm and scoop's a lot faster and a lot easier. However, we should be able to see a picture like this and recognize that it's a multiplication problem with decimals. So I know standard algorithms sometimes can feel a little bit easier, but we should be able to recognize these pictures and understand what we're doing. Moving on to the last visual way we'll multiply decimals, which this is honestly one of my favorite ways, and you'll see why in just a second. So we've got this equation down here. It says 7/10 times 4/10 equals r. Now, typically when we multiply, our numbers grow or get bigger, but we're going to see in this example how when we multiply, it can actually get smaller. We're going to need this key again, okay? So one flat is going to be 1 rod's going to be 1/10, and 1 unit will be 100th. So we got a flat here, so 100 little units here, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to represent the 7/10. So I think we can all agree if I highlight 7 of my rows, that is going to be equal to 7/10, okay? Because we have 7 rods, 7/10, okay? Now we're going to highlight 4/10 of the flat. So we're representing 4 columns, 4 rods to give us 4/10. Now this is one of my favorite ways to multiply decimals visually because we get a beautiful color. Look at that. Isn't it just so wonderful? But now all we're going to have to do is count how many units are that different color, which is purple. So if we count, it's just an area model or an array of 4 times 7, and 4 times 7 would give us 28. So we have 28 units, which we know units are going to represent 1/10. 28 1/10, or 1/10, 100ths would give us 28 hundredths. So our answer would be 28 hundredths. And again, we can go back and check with the standard algorithm in Scoop and see that that would be the correct answer. So multiplying decimals visually can be a little tricky, and sometimes you can look at it and just say, I just would rather do the standard algorithm. But us teachers do expect you guys to see these types of pictures, see these types of models, and understand what it's asking you to do. And you can always check with the standard algorithm to double check and make sure your answer is correct. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. Hopefully you'll get a little bit more practice with multiplying decimals visually so that you can get a hundo on your next test. We love you guys, we miss you, and I'll see you later. Bye.